me to participate tonight, and thank Kate for being on as well, my important colleague at KTA, Kate Prisby, who has some, I know has some AMC roots. And Kate offered to let me do the talk tonight, so I appreciate the opportunity to interact with the club. I should say that I've been involved with KTA since 2021 when I came on board as executive director that fall. And so it's been not quite 4 years yet, and it's been a wonderful journey thus far. And one of the things that one of my objectives as executive director was to, and remains, to get to know all the trail and hiking clubs that operate in Pennsylvania. So I've made a dent in that, but I don't believe I've ever sat down in a situation like this with AMC Delaware Valley. So I really appreciate this opportunity. So, what I'd like to do over the next several minutes is both provide an introduction to KTA for those of you who may not be as familiar with our organization, and then for those of you who are fairly familiar, uh, hopefully you'll hear some things that are basically updates on some of our programs and activities, and hopefully those will sound interesting to you. So, without further ado, I just want to start with uh, our um, our mission and a little bit more about us as an organization. So, as we say, we provide, protect, promote, and preserve hiking trails and hiking opportunities in Pennsylvania. That's our mission, and we've been at it for a long time. KTA was founded in 1956. My understanding uh, is that the KTA got started as an organization to sort of coordinate trail maintenance on the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania. And over the years, the organization's mission evolved and morphed a little bit. We stepped away from the AT for a number of years, I guess, to focus on other important trail things in Pennsylvania. But since 2018, and I could be wrong by a year or two, I know that we've re-engaged directly with the Appalachian Trail, thanks largely to Jim Foster, who's our lead volunteer in maintaining the Lehigh Gap section of the AT. And I've been out there with Jim several times, and he's amazing, and that's a lovely section of the trail. Um, but in addition to that work on the AT, obviously we interact with other maintaining clubs like yours along the Appalachian Trail. Um, and anyway, so I'll talk a little bit more about our history as I get into some of our program areas. And I'm going to start with, excuse me, I should say something else too, is that because I know not everybody will realize this, that we're based in Mechanicsburg, in near Harrisburg. We have a small office on Main Street in the borough of Mechanicsburg, and but our staff, and we've staffed up over the last few years. There's now six of us, including myself, and most of the folks are dispersed. So we have uh, Kate based in Lancaster County. We have somebody that's up in Bloomsburg area. We have a person in Lock Haven, a person in Bedford, and a person in Hamburg. So uh, we get together at the office periodically, um, weekly, generally speaking, but we're all working remotely some of the time, and obviously in the field quite a bit too. So anyway, it's an exciting time for our organization. We've really seen some important growth, and I think and broader reach because of that. Um, so I want to now get into a little bit of our program areas, and I like to think of it as sort of like five major thematic areas of work. So I'm going to start with trail advocacy. Um, all this work's important. So there's not a specific order to these program areas, but advocacy's obviously more important than ever as we see some of the threats to our work in the outdoors very directly right now. So we need strong voices that lift trails up and the organizations and agencies that make them possible. Um, so we do that in a number of ways, uh, but whether that's trying to talk to lawmakers, we don't do as much of that as we probably should, and hopefully in the years to come, we'll have a little more capacity to do even more of that. But we try to keep our membership informed about issues and encourage them to speak up, just like George talked to us tonight about. So I think that's so important. Um, we have addressed a variety of issues in our advocacy through the years. Sunday hunting's one example. We've been pretty outspoken on that issue. ATVs on public lands is another one. And we're still very involved in that issue, including being party to a suit to try to get basically get ATV trails disallowed on public lands on DCNR lands in Pennsylvania. So there's that's another pretty important issue for us. But a great example, and the reason I have the slide up of the Mason-Dixon Trail marker is that the Mason-Dixon Trail is under threat from a sizable hydroelectric pump storage hydroelectric project proposed in the lower Susquehanna Gorge. And this project's been proposed before. It's been it's been beaten back, and it's back again. And this time, though, it did receive a preliminary permit from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, uh, and KTA's involved in as an intervener, a legal intervener in that fight, um, along with a number of partners that are rigorously resisting this proposal. Um, the project itself, if constructed, would destroy over a mile of the Mason-Dixon Trail and the forest through which it currently travels. So we're really concerned about that project and we're speaking out. So I don't want to belabor my points on advocacy, but just to know that we're trying to be a voice for these issues in Pennsylvania. Um, and there are many different issues that we have offered our voice in, and probably more that we should be. So now I'm going to switch gears to trail care, to trail maintenance. And this is a very important part of KTA's legacy, both from those really early days on the Appalachian Trail to some of the intervening years. A more formal trail care program got established at KTA. And we just recently celebrated the 40th anniversary of that volunteer-driven program. Now, today, we have two staff that directly um, coordinate some of these trail care activities. We have a manager of trail maintenance and training. Her name is Jen Ulmer. And we have a regional trail care coordinator that's specifically focused on the Pennsylvania Wilds region. So that's that 13 county area in north central Pennsylvania, where there are a lot of longer distance hiking trails and there aren't as many local trail clubs to help take care of those trails. So KTA has been very involved in trail maintenance through the years on those trails like the Black Forest or the Donut Hole or the Chuck Kuiper, the Quahana, and others. Um, and as already mentioned too, we have sort of resurrected our more direct involvement as a maintaining club on the Appalachian Trail as well. So that's really exciting. But we do the trail care work in a variety of ways, but primarily through extended trail crew weekends where uh, we bring people together sometimes for like three days, 2.5 days of trail work, excuse me. They get together typically Thursday night, work Friday, work Saturday, and then usually maybe work part of Sunday or do something fun on Sunday. But those are our traditional trail crew weekends. We also do 1 day events. We typically call those Code Orange work days. And we're experimenting with other workday formats. Um, but all that effort is so important to keeping these trails, especially these trails, like I said, that don't have as much attention. We can kind of help fill that gap. So we've also experimented with a trail care format that we call Trail Love Weekends. So we had an event in the Michoud State Forest in June of 24 on National Trails Day. And the idea with this was to kind of invest some special funds to really make it festive and roll out the red carpet for the volunteers. So we had free camping Friday night. Um, we had some great meals on Saturday, so everybody was very well fed. We even had some musical entertainment after we uh, came back from our work projects. But we had multiple work sites on multiple trails within the Michoud State Forest or Pine Grove Furnace State Park or Kings Gap State Park. So it was all sort of centralized. But what made it extra special too was not only the fact that it helped recruit some new faces to trail maintenance work, but it also had us interacting closely with multiple partners. So some friends groups and some other organizations that are active in that part of Pennsylvania. So it was a really um, fun experiment, and we like to do more of them. And we have plans to do a project like this in the Allegheny National Forest in September on National Public Lands Day. And then I just wanted to kind of sneak preview that in June of next year of 20 or yes, June of 26, we'll be doing a Kittatinny Trail Love Weekend, and I'm sure we will be reaching out to you to see if you might be interested in collaborating on that, as we'll likely also reach out to other maintaining clubs along the Appalachian Trail. So more to come on that, but we're excited about these opportunities for these larger scale Trail Love weekends. Um, and just some more images of trail maintenance work. Often done in partnership. So the photo in the lower right, uh, as I look at my screen, is some work days we did with the Lancaster Conservancy and the Conestoga Trail Club. And those were great because working together, we pulled in some respective volunteers from each organization, um, and just had a lot of great mentoring and oversight by some of the key volunteers, the crew leaders and such. So it was a great time. But I wanted just to mention too that as our 40th year for trail care transpired or is sort of in process of transpiring, we had in 24, I think something like almost 3,000 volunteer hours that we logged, which I thought was pretty healthy. Um, and we had a goal to attract at least 50 new volunteers to trail care work, and we just about hit that mark. Um, so felt pretty good about some of the things that we've accomplished in that anniversary year. All right, now I was going to shift to training because I think when I came on board at KTA, I learned that training had been an important part of the organization's repertoire, but it hadn't been as active. There hadn't been as much activity in the last several years, um, and yet I was already coming into the organization. I was getting requests about, uh, is KTA going to be doing any kind of training? Is there any trail maintenance seminars coming up or anything like that? And so early on, I realized that it would be really valuable if we sort of amped up our game in that regard. And having people on board like Kate Prisby and our other staff. have enabled us to do a lot more in this regard. So things like wilderness first aid, well, let me frame it this way. They are both trail maintenance skills that we try to offer different trainings on, as well as outdoor skills or skills that help you be more confident in the outdoors. And things like wilderness first aid, leave no trace. I already mentioned various trail maintenance skills, but we do this in-person training, like you see in this photo of Jen Ulmer teaching about proper blazing techniques. And Jen is very particular about her blazing. But and that was during a trail maintenance academy we did in 2022. But we also realized that online trainings and training may sound really formal. Some of this is less formal. So some of the online webinars, for example, are really just to kind of scratch the surface of certain issues and pick your interest. And we've begun to sort of categorize those um, primarily, not absolutely, but primarily in two ways around like ecology topics, so you can learn more about the natural resources that you're enjoying and be inspired to take, good care of them. And then also more the adventure and skill stuff. So the next slide you can see, excuse me, that was an example of backpacking trainings we've offered, like Backpacking 101. We've even varied the format of that so that sometimes it's sort of a focused, comprehensive session. And then we're trying a new, Kate's introduced a really cool way to do it where there's some online learning and then there's some field outings, some hikes or some backpacks. And that will be happening this fall. So we're excited about that. But that's a real practical, skill. I want to learn about backpacking and KTA's helping to teach that. But then the webinars I mentioned, this is just a little sample of some of the things we've done over the last 18 months or so. These are not all of them, but these are some of those webinars. So things like, a webinar about invasive species. We had a webinar about road crossings with PennDOT. We thought that topic might be of a special interest to some of the trail organizations. Um, but a teaser about how to hike the Appalachian Trail, all kinds of things. So we're excited to offer those and look forward to offering a lot more or continually to offer them in the future. So another part of our work is what we call trail promotion. And this is really kind of divided into two buckets. One, it's the fact that we at KTA have a store where we sell maps and guides. It's an important revenue stream for us, but it's also a great resource for hikers because they come to know that KTA may have the map or guide that they're looking for. Um, so we sell maps and guides. And in some cases, we've also published them ourselves or worked with other partners to publish stuff. So a good example of that would be the Appalachian Trail Guide to Pennsylvania that Wayne Gross, our president of our board of directors, has served as the editor for that guidebook, and I know has worked with volunteers from all the maintaining clubs on the AT in Pennsylvania to continue to update that book, which came out about a year ago in its 13th edition. So that's a nice resource for AT hikers. We've also historically published books like the Hiking Guide to Pennsylvania that's uh, still in print, but admittedly a little outdated these days. But we're really excited about a new publication that we've been working on with the Pennsylvania Wild Center for Entrepreneurship, who works robustly in that 13 county region, promoting nature-based tourism and sort of local artisans and all kinds of interesting things that really give back to the community. In any case, the PA Wild Center uh, contracted with KTA to develop a guidebook, and that hiking guide to the PA Wilds region, which will be a lovely guidebook, should be out on into the marketplace by the end of 2025. So we're excited about that project too. But that's a little bit of our about our trail promotion side of things. And then the other part of that are the outings. Now, our outings aren't nearly as voluminous as many of the clubs, and especially as you take them in aggregate. And that's fine because the week to week, month to month array of programs and outings that you all offer really helps introduce Pennsylvanians to their trails. But we're sort of an extension of that. And we know that we can lift up certain trails, certain activities, and we strive to do that. And we do that in a couple different ways. One, we've done things like slack packs that are supported hiking trips on these longer distance trails, especially but not solely up in the Pennsylvania Wilds region. In fact, last year we did a slack pack on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail, um, and also one on the Loyalsock Trail. And this year we're offering two of these, one on the also on the Laurel Highlands hiking trail, but the northern section, and then one on the Midstate Trail, a section of the Midstate Trail near Everett. So uh, anyway, we find these are great ways for folks that maybe aren't ready to take the leap into backpacking, or they just want the comfort now. Maybe they did a lot of backpacking and now they want the comfort of a slack pack. But we find these as a really enjoyable kind of program. And but they're just one example. And then we also do another good example of some things we do in regard to these outings, are hiking weekends. And they've morphed a little bit into what we're now calling hiking and outdoor weekends. And Kate is our lead staff person and does an amazing job of putting these together. So we did our first one of these in its fullest iteration of the model was in the fall of 24 in the lower Susquehanna in what we call the Susquehanna Riverlands. And um, this spring, we're doing a spring hiking and outdoor weekend in the um, at Raystown Lake uh, in Huntington County, and that has been very popular in terms of its sign up that happens at the end of April. But next fall, we'll have our Keystone hiking and outdoor weekend in the Pennsylvania Wilds, centered on St. Mary's and Ridgeway, but with activities over the 3 days, eventually reaching out all across the region. So that's really exciting. But these hiking and outdoor weekends are, sure, they're about hiking, but they're also about hands-on learning opportunities. They're about other trail-based recreations. So whether it be a bike ride or horseback ride, um, we're really trying to build camaraderie, collegiality, um, and provide a really safe and sustainable introduction to these various activities, all with a strong spirit of stewardship woven in. So, and very importantly, I should mention that the hiking weekend model, where one of the areas where it's really somewhat different from probably the way KTA's done things in the past is, and there was nothing wrong with the way we did it in the past, but it was typically we go to a place and we might work with, say, one hiking club and we put together a bunch of hikes and that's what we did. This newer model is much more sort of um, partner centric in that we work with all the different organizations over a broader region and really try to lift them up at the same time. We're trying, of course, to also promote our own organization. So I think that's a cool model. Um, and and kudos to Kate, my colleague, for leading that effort. But that should be a lot of fun. The one coming up in the Pennsylvania Wilds. So that's a little bit about, in a nutshell, just about some of the different programs and ways we get people onto trails. But Um, our fifth bucket, and arguably, one of the most important is the support that we try to offer trail clubs. And and this is, working with organizations like yours. But every local club has a variety of strengths, may have different needs, and we try to be there for them. I feel like we're still trying to perfect ways uh, to help and how to add value to that part of our mission, but we're getting there. Um, and I use this picture, by the way, of the of a sign at the Rensselaer Arboretum near Reading, where the Blue Mountain Eagle Climbing Club operates from. And they, I took this picture during their backpacking rally, their backpacking extravaganza, basically, that KTA helped promote. We attended, I mean, to give one of the presentations, and it was a really neat model. So, uh, hats off to BMAC for leading that effort, where they had all these different stations, and it was a really nice style of encouraging people to learn more about all the different facets of backpacking. It was a great event. But specifically, and that is an example of how maybe we can be helpful at KTA. If there's a program that we can do as part of a program that you're doing, we will be glad to consider helping. And in that case, at lunchtime during that backpacking rally, I did a program about other hiking trails in Pennsylvania, places where folks could backpack so that they knew about those opportunities. And that was a lot, so that was a lot of fun. But KTA also offers mini grants. These are currently, the format is $500 that can be used for basically anything the club needs. So traditionally they were used more for uh, trail supplies, lumber for a bridge, whatever that specific kind of physical need may have been. But we've really broadened it. So sure, it could still be used for a purpose like that, but we've had clubs use it to buy food for massive trail crew weekends. We had we've had folks use it for t-shirts to reward volunteers. Basically, we look at it this way. Anything that you need to help keep your club vibrant or to help keep your trail vibrant. So that's sort of what those can be used for in a nutshell. And by the way, there's a round open now. The that grant application period ends March 25th, so in a few days. But we offer that at least once a year, typically this time of year. And yeah, and all you have to do, the application is super easy. And all you basically have to do is have a project that costs at least $500. So anyway, I want to mention too our Trail Club Symposium. We, for the first time, tried to put one together last year, and we didn't get a lot of interest. But we're going to try again. We're going to try to give a little more lead time, I suppose. And the plan for the symposium is to have it November 15th at Kings Gap. It's a lovely facility. The mansion at Kings Gap up on top of the South Mountains is gorgeous and should be a really conducive space for a fairly intimate get together with representatives from trail clubs around the state, with the idea to really have a focused time for sharing, learning, and getting to know one another. Um, and and we're even allowing the mini grants to be used for transportation costs. So the fee for the day will be really minimal, but we know that the biggest expense could be the travel. So we want to try to have some ways to help offset that. So more to come on the Trail Club Symposium, but we also help promote your stuff. If you let us know about certain things you want us to help spread the word on, we will do it via social media or our newsletters. and some other in it maybe in some other ways too. I should also reinforce that we have discounts for the trainings that I previously mentioned. Typically, in the registration fee structure, we have discounts for trail club representatives. And finally, I just wanted to say on this note that again, I like to think of one of the ways we can support you is or in ways that you might identify. So it could be a joint trail maintenance project. It could be you the club offering to host a training. And we could work with you to help work out those details. Um, maybe it's some kind of joint outing. Um, maybe it's some kind of advocacy initiative or asking our help in also writing letters or taking the lead on an issue that you need some help with. So um, I don't want to promise, more than I can deliver, but just know that we're there as a resource um, and as an ally. So I put this slide up here because it relates to promotion. So something I'm really excited about is a magazine that we're launching this spring. And it's not going to be uh, 100-page magazine, but it's going to be more of a magazine format, and it's something we've never done before. Um, and it will have articles about all things hiking and trail club related and outdoor skills related, um, a whole sort of amalgamation of some
This is
recurrent
fun.
columns and things, and that we have a really great outline for this. It's the first, like I said, the first issue will be coming out in another month or so, but it's called Expedition Pennsylvania, and I think that kind of captures the spirit of what we're trying to communicate, the fun, the adventure that comes with exploring and caring for our trails. So, so that there might be opportunities with that magazine to talk about certain things that you're doing. Um, so more to come on that. I also want to just reinforce quickly the awards that KTA has. I remember well that uh, your organization received the Club of the Year in 2024. That's very cool. Uh, I believe you're the first one because we had just launched this Club of the Year thing. Um, but uh, besides Club of the Year, there are other service awards that KTA bestows. Um, but very importantly, we also have hiking awards. And the hiking awards are for things like you've somebody who's hiked the whole Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania Hiking Award, Western Pennsylvania Hiking Award, Youth Hiking Awards. There's a whole variety. And even though they're not specific to your organization, perhaps you could help lift those up and let people know that they can aspire to get those awards by hiking your sections of trail, but also others, however, for whichever award they're trying to obtain. But we're really excited about the awards, and we know that they can be perhaps even better known and maybe have more reward perhaps with them. And even to the issue of where we present them, we've been reevaluating. So traditionally, these have been offered. The ceremony has occurred at our fall hiking weekend, now our Keystone hiking and outdoor weekend. And because there's so much else going on those weekends with all these exciting outings, we want to try a new format, which is a standalone awards reception at exciting places to visit. And we're going to start by having it at on December 6th, 2025. So this year's awards will be awarded then, and that's going to be at the Ned Smith Center for Nature and Art in Millersburg. So the nice thing about having it at the Ned Smith Center is it's a lovely facility. It also has all this cool artwork by Ned Smith, who was the artist that the Pennsylvania Game News used a lot of his stuff all those years, and he worked for the Game Commission. But in addition to that, it has all kinds of hiking opportunities on the property, and we think it will be a really neat place for the awards. So maybe you'll be able to join us for that event. And then just a few more things. I probably blabbered on too long here tonight, but certainly as a organization that works on the AT, I wanted to mention our future plans to move to the Scott Farm. So at some point in the next roughly 2 years, KTA will move its offices from the borough of Mechanicsburg to the Scott Farm in Middlesex Township. So this is right along the Appalachian Trail, uh, about 2 miles or so south of the Kittatinny Ridge, about 12 miles or so north of the South Mountains, right along that heart of that 14-mile section that goes across the Cumberland Valley. It's right along the Connequen Creek. And yes, we want this to be our offices, but we want it to be a lot more. It's already a busy trailhead for the Appalachian Trail. We want to enhance that. It's a water trail access for the Connequen Creek Water Trail. Um, the site historically has been used by the Cumberland Valley Appalachian Trail Club and the Appalachian Trail Conservancy for a sort of a trail maintenance hub and for the housing even some of their mid-Atlantic trail crews. So some of those functions may continue. We have a collaborative relationship with those organizations. Um, and yeah, we in with our plans to upgrade the facility, we're including convening space for meetings and trainings, and see this as a really good venue for future programming. So more on that in the future, but I can say on that matter, in closing, we have a master planning process underway, and soon we'll be having fundraising processes underway to raise the funds necessary to do the renovations. But this is a National Park Service property that there's a land swap that's happening to enable us to get possession of this eventually. That's being facilitated by the Central Pennsylvania Conservancy. Um, and of course, the Park Service had decided that they didn't want this facility anymore. And that's what set in motion this opportunity. So look, you can learn more about that in the future. And I just wanted to say too that we're launching a gear loaner program. It's essentially already launched. We're starting out small, but things like backpacks and sleeping pads and sleeping bags and tents, all that will be available through this program. And I realize that you're not, KTA's headquarters is not in your backyard, but perhaps you'll have an outing or we'll know of folks that are looking for gear and doing something that would make it convenient for them to stop by Mechanicsburg. Maybe we could be a resource for them in this regard. And then I threw this map in here not to throw you off and say, where the heck are we? But because it's another exciting initiative that we're involved with. It's still sort of in its early days, but not that early. We've been working on this piecemeal for the last 2 years, and it's been very volunteer led. Several key volunteers have been doing the bulk of the work on this, including this mapping. But this is a proposed route that would obviously require some further interpretation. But it's in a section of the Pennsylvania wilds. So we're looking at Lycoming and Tioga and Potter and Clinton County, etc. And you're looking at this, what we're calling the Paul Mega Loop, short for PA Wilds Mega Loop Hiking Trail. So the Paul Mega Loop would be a 300-mile plus hiking experience in the heart of that rugged, um, fairly wild part of Pennsylvania, also known for its dark skies. So this is where there are a number of these long distance hiking trails, and the Paul Mega Loop would link up portions of them. So some of the major trails like the Quahana, and so it'd be part of the Quahana, part of the Susquehannock Trail, part of the Donut Hole, part of the Chuck Kuiper, part of the Black Forest, section of the West Rim, etc. So you get the idea. But this is in planning, and we're hoping to obtain some funds that would allow us to do a really robust master plan for this Paul Mega Loop hiking trail. So it's going to be a few years in the making. And then, last but not least, I wanted to leave you with this picture of our van. And that may seem odd, but we had a generous bequest that enabled us to purchase our own vehicle, which we've never had. And obviously, this is hugely helpful in attending distant meetings, in helping with our hiking weekends and other outings. But what's really exciting about it, besides its functionality, is the fact that it kind of serves as a traveling billboard with this nice wrap on it. And it's really neat to see the looks the van gets by people checking it out. And we know that it's sort of a form of ambassadorship for hiking in Pennsylvania. And so we're really jazzed about that. So maybe you'll see it or see us in it at a future event. But I really thank you for your time, and I hope I didn't go on too long. But I hope I've given you a portrait of some, but certainly not all of the things that KTA is involved with. Um, but I just want to finish by saying that as I've dived into this work at KTA, I am constantly just hyper impressed by the organizations working across the state on trails and outdoor recreation, um, and the good people that make up those organizations. And it's really heartfelt, and I'm really lucky to have a job like this and work with great staff too. Uh, so thanks for having me tonight, and I'm happy with every time remaining to answer any questions.
First of all, Brooke, thank you, and I will reiterate that. Any questions you may have, good time to ask Brooke.
Look, I would just like to say that I'm very impressed with all that's going on with your organization, and thanks for sharing all that. And it, makes me want to go to the website and check things out more. Right.
Hi, Brooke. This is Susan. Thank you so much for all the advocacy you guys do on all kinds of levels. My question, this has obviously been a mind a lot in the last month or so, is anybody going to track the impact that the federal government's withdrawal of support for particularly our national parks, we have several areas in Pennsylvania, is having, and what can be done about that?
Great question. And actually, Kate uh, was bending my ear about something similar. I mean, about the importance of keeping track of
Mhm.
these kinds of impacts. And I think I was a little overwhelmed thinking, how would we ever keep track of them all? Because they're so
Yeah.
ubiquitous, and so severe. But so that's a really neat idea. I honestly don't know if we have the complete bandwidth to do that right now, but certainly um, any data that comes our way, we'll um, keep, retain. I was trying to think of the word. We'll retain it because we're going to be continuing to message about these things, both, via the newsletter, the magazine, all these different vehicles. But also, I have a call coming up in a few weeks with Appalachian Trail Conservancy, who does have dedicated staff to, you know,
Mhm.
to to policy matters. And we're going to be talking about maybe arranging some sort of um, day at the Capitol, or the Capitol days, or whatever, however format they may take, um, So yeah, the more fodder we have, I mean, the more facts and fodder, I guess you could say, it will be valuable. Um, and obviously, that's the kind of thing that, depending on what gets worked out, I mean, we'll obviously be recruiting to try to get other folks to come along. So, um,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously just we could say so many words: disheartening, frustrating, horrendous. But I think, yeah, there's definitely solidarity in numbers. There's power in people's voices, and we'll continue to try to do what we can, do our part to help rally the troops.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.